Hey everybody, what's going on? Your host LovelyCheesePizza here. Welcome back to Let's Play some more Gran Turismo 3, the Ultimate Driving Simulator. I am in a fantastic mood, by the way, because college football's here and I got to watch the Ducks play and they won and they don't suck as bad anymore and it makes me happy. And then I got to have peppermint ice cream because that's delicious. And now we're here and we get to do stuff. And the stuff that we get to start with is we get to try and right the ship from this fucking thing, the one race that derailed our perfect little experiment, and it didn't go over very well. We made like one mistake I mean, well, we made quite a few of them really, but we made one main mistake during a turn, and it kind of derailed the whole thing. You know, we had to spend pretty much the next 2 laps trying to make up some space. Made up a little bit, but ultimately couldn't do anything with it. So, really gotta hope at this point that we can, you know, jump out to an early lead and then just maintain it, because that's what you're supposed to do. So we'll see what happens. I'm feeling kind of okay about this, but not great. This one particular track seems to give us a lot of trouble when it comes to driving cars that are similarly matched. Basically what I'm saying is I'm not very good at this particular race, and it's painfully obvious because it's really the only one that we've had, you know, legitimate troubles with on multiple occasions. So that's just what it comes down to. I really severely hope that we can, you know, make things right here and win the damn thing, but I'm not going to put too much stock in that. Oh boy, come on, help me out here, help me out. There we go, that kind of sort of worked out. There's a few corners in here that I just can't quite, you know, solve the labyrinth of how to properly tackle them. I know that I still suffer from the disease of taking all of my corners on the inside, and that's not exactly the best way to do it. Unfortunately, it's it's something that's like, it's so engraved in my skull that I can't not do it, I guess. So, that's kind of what it is. But this is, I think, a better split than what we were dealing with last time. I think once we get done with this race, if I can manage to, you know, pull myself out of it, then I do have a story to talk about. And it's rather strange and interesting. So, hopefully we win on this one, because I'd like to be able to, you know, talk about it instead of being in a, you know, in a slight fit of rage where I'm like, oh, this is fucking bullshit. I'm so sick of losing this damn race. We're actually kind of making some headway here. We're making some headway here! Oh, yeah! That was not efficient, but it was awesome. I will give it that. At the very least. Okay. I'm feeling okay. I am feeling okay for the moment here. It's definitely not ideal. It's definitely not great at all right now. But having a positive split is better than not. So I'm feeling okay here. The only see, it's hard being in first on tracks that you struggle on, because, you know, when you're behind, you can kind of follow the mold of what, you know, the cars that are superior at the time are doing. But when when it's one of these tracks that you have a hard time on and you're actually in the lead and you're trying so hard to maintain it, you kind of have to make your own way on it and hope that what you're doing is the right thing. And I hate that sometimes. There's a lot of pressure in that. But I try as I might. We'll see what happens. The hard part is going to be kind of this little stretch here. Like we gotta hold it together. Gotta keep everything going strong, and then this one section is kind of the thing that I'm worried about, is when we come to the big corner up here, because I mean, we use that obviously to our huge advantage the first time around, but this seems to be the part that I always make a big mistake on somewhere. That actually worked out okay. We've had so many... Oh, no, he's coming up behind me. He is coming up behind me now. Oh, no. No. We're floundering a little bit. Floundering a little bit. Hold it together. No. He has overtaken me. Shit. Oh, what happened there? What was he thinking? What a fucking idiot. He was just driving straight and just went right into that thing. It's like he was you know, he reached down to take a sip of that nice crisp Dr. Pepper that he got from McDonald's because for some reason it always just so happens to be. There is something to be said about getting soft drinks, you know, on tap at McDonald's. They're so good. They're like extra crisp and extra syrupy. That's like one of the only places that I will ever get Sprite, mainly because it's one of the only places that actually offers Sprite, but just, I don't know, like, you get Sprite from there, and just every time you take a drink of it, I think having those wide straws has something to do with it, too, because you feel like you're just getting more out of it. It's so refreshing. It's so fucking good. You take a sip of it, and you just go, oh, yes. Alright, well, that actually went over really well. I don't know why that couldn't have happened the first time. Maybe it's because I'm more focused, you know? I'm feeling good because football season's here. I'm wearing the Duck shirt, and, you know, the world is good. So, we have that out of the way now. What is left? We have the Alteza Championship. Ah, yes. So what's allowed here? Is it just the one? Lexus IS, and the RS200, and the LM race car, which something... I had this weird feeling that LM race car might be in there in this challenge, which means we're going to have to beef the living hell out of this thing. Which, let's go down the way here. Ah, there she is. Our beautiful, super bright yellow one that we bought many, many eons ago. Of which, let's real quick go and give her a little oil change. I mean, we probably don't really need to, but, I mean, there were what, 33 miles on that car? I think that's probably, you know, not a horrible idea, especially since we're driving against all the same car here. Any type of advantage I can get my hands on, I will take it. Okay, so let's get this thing all beefed up, and while we're doing it, I will tell you the story that I was telling you about, because it's very interesting. Because it's something that's it's paranormal, or not necessarily paranormal, but it's the unexplained, one of my favorite categories of things that they would show on Unsolved Mysteries. Because, you know, why not? 70,000. Really? Down to 3... Oh, turbo, that's why. I was like, why the fuck would that take us down? That's so weird. Who would have thought that by putting the best possible pieces in, it would actually make your car worse? But no, it's because we had this. So let's put this guy in. Hey, that looks better. So, I don't know, for those of you that have been watching this all the way through, you'll probably remember an episode not super long ago. It was probably, I don't know, up to 10 episodes ago. I talked about an instance where I'm gonna get some racing tires. It just feels better. There's no need for sports tires anymore ever at this point. You just need to do the right thing. So you'll remember I talked about an instance where I was in my living room, and if I didn't talk about this, then I'm talking about it now, where I was in my living room watching Ghost Adventures on TV, and I was by myself outside of my grandma being asleep at the other end of the house, and while I'm watching TV, I started hearing weird sounds coming from like the kitchen area, you know, kind of like some banging noises and weird like shuffling sounds of things going on, but there's nobody there. But it was very weird because it went on for, you know, seemingly forever. It took such a it was such a lengthy deal, and they were all like different increments of time, and it was strange. And I told my parents about it, and they were like, "That's really weird. Like, we've never heard anything like that before." And so we talked about it for a little bit, and I told them what was going on. They were just like, yeah, it's really strange. We've never had anything like that happen before, so I don't know, maybe you're fucking crazy. They didn't actually say that, but they were kind of like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Like, my parents, they do believe in the paranormal and ghosts and stuff, because my dad's had plenty of experiences already, but they try to not, you know, let that sort of thing inhabit their minds, because, you know, they believe that if you allow yourself to think about it too much, that, you know, that you're basically inviting things, you know, into your psyche that shouldn't be there. You know, that's, you know, how, you know, things like demonic possessions and stuff happen. Like, you just, which I think to a point is true, but, you know, sometimes, I mean, what about like little kids that have no affiliation with that at all? You know, they're not sitting there playing with Ouija boards and stuff. I mean, what about the ones that are just totally innocent that get taken by that anyways? You know, they go after the quiet ones. But so a couple nights ago, you know, we had gone to the hospital because my other grandma's in the hospital now, and I had talked about that on the show recently too. And so we'd gotten back from the hospital, and so we were all just kind of hanging out at home, and everybody was, you know, I decided I was going to go to bed because I hadn't really slept much in the last couple of days, and so I was like, hey, I'm gonna, you know, go and lay down in bed. You know, you guys can hang out here, and I'll head to bed. And so I'm like, okay, you know, we'll talk to you in the morning. And so I'm in my room, and I was playing Golf Clash on my phone, and just kind of relaxing and watching TV, waiting for my eyes to get heavy so I could, you know, leave this plane of existence and go, you know, into the land of dreams and whatnot. And so in the middle of this, I'm just kind of, you know, relaxing, and then all of a sudden I hear a knock on my door, and my mom's like, hey, can I come in real quick? And I was like, sure, I'm just hanging out in here, you know, no big deal. And so she comes in and she's like, did you hear that noise just now? Or she's like, did you hear that? Did you hear that weird noise? I was like, no, what are you talking about? She's like, well, everybody else heard it. Grandma heard the noise, and you know, your dad and I heard the noise. How did you didn't hear anything? I was like, no. I was like, what noise was it? She's like, well, it sounded like a person like running down the hallway. I was like, a person running down the hallway? What are you talking about? There's obviously nobody was doing that, because the only person that would run down the hallway in this instance would be me, and obviously I didn't do that because I was back in my room. And I was like, well, I mean, I didn't do it. I've been in here the whole time. I haven't moved since I got in here, so it definitely couldn't have been me. And so they're like, you didn't hear anything? I was like, no, not at all. And that's such a strange thing, because my grandma's room is literally directly next to mine, and her door was closed, and my door was closed, and yet she heard this sound clear as day, and everybody else at the other end of the house heard this clear as day. It just sounded like a person, you know, according to them, it just sounded like a person was just straight up running down the hallway, just in like really loud kind of, you know, in the way that you can replicate that sound on like a carpeted floor, you know what I mean? And it sounded like the consistency of footsteps in like, you know, it was just really bizarre, a very strange occurrence. And it was so weird that I didn't hear that, because normally I'm the one that picks up on that stuff, and then I have to tell everybody else about it. And so, you know, that ended up being kind of the end of that conversation for the evening. But then the next morning, I was getting up and I was getting ready to go to work, and my dad was still in the living room. And then he kind of brought up the conversation again. He's like, yeah, that whole thing last night with the running was really weird. He's like, and you're sure you didn't hear anything? I was like, I'm positive. I heard absolutely nothing out of that. He's like, man, that's so strange. But he's like, you know, I didn't mention this to your mom because we were kind of spooked already, but there was something else that happened that I found particularly strange that happened after that, when everybody else had gone to bed, because he a lot of the time will be out in the living room and he'll fall asleep on the couch just watching TV or whatever, because he has a harder time sleeping flat on his back in the bed because he has sleep apnea. And so he needs to be kind of elevated, and sleeping on the couch or in like one of the recliner chairs kind of affords him that, you know, easier sleeping condition. So he'll usually be out there by himself a fair amount of the time. He's like, so I was watching TV out here, and I was starting to doze off just a little bit, when all of a sudden I heard like a thud noise, just one singular thud noise. And it sounded like it was coming from outside, and then all of a sudden my cell phone did like a half ring, and then it stopped, and it never registered on my phone as like a call or anything. It did like one half ring, and then it stopped making noise. And so he's like, I didn't get up to check anything, or I didn't really get up to check right away, and so I just kind of laid there, and then, you know, a number of minutes goes by, and I'm, you know, starting to doze off again, and then all of a sudden I heard another thud noise, and then my phone did another half ring and it stopped. And so I got up to go check it, and that's when I realized that it had never registered a phone call. And like a lot of the time, you know, with iPhones, even if you get somebody that like dials you by accident, if it's able to ring once, essentially, you know, or really at all, it will still register as a missed call. Like, it'll come up on your screen and say missed call from, you know, unknown number, or from whatever number it was, it'll pop up. But it's usually extremely unlikely there would be a scenario where your phone would do a half ring and then not display on your phone, you know, even if it's just a fraction. It's so weird. He's like, I've never had that happen before. He's like, but just the entire occurrences of what happened last night, along with that, were so bizarre. He's like, you know, I try not to think about that kind of stuff very often, but he's like, that was certainly something that I can't explain, and it's the first time anything like that has ever happened here that I've really ever, you know, witnessed myself. He's like, I know you were talking about the thing that happened, you know, the night that we were gone and you were by yourself and you heard weird noises in the kitchen. He's like, not that I'm saying it has any correlation, but, you know, what if? You know, you can't rule it out necessarily that maybe, who knows, maybe there is something going on here. So yeah, dude, it was really strange. I really wish that I could have, you know, experienced part of that. Like, that type of stuff really intrigues me. Like, it certainly makes me uncomfortable, because, you know, anything with the paranormal, like, you never know. You know, it's the unknown. And so when you have experiences like that, where, you know, things are going on and you can't tangibly see something or feel something, but it's happening in front of you, and you know that you're not, you know you're not imagining it because other people are experiencing it. And so it can't be just your mind, you know, kind of taking over and you know, making something out of nothing. It's like, wow, it's so weird. It's a very intriguing thing that I wish I could have experienced with them, so that I could have taken part in it. You know, it was very bizarre, but super cool at the same time. Like, not for me to say that, oh, I really want more things to happen in here, because a lot of the time they're kind of uncomfortable. You know, they kind of put you on edge and they make your skin all tingly, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a strange thing, but it is kind of interesting that kind of thing has happened a couple times in the house now, and I'm not the only one to have experienced it, so that it's not like they're thinking, well, you've been watching too many ghost shows, and so now your mind's playing tricks on you, because that's kind of how they played it off initially, was, well, you've been watching Ghost Adventures pretty much all night, so it's not surprising that, you know, when you hear a sound in the house and you automatically think that's what's going on. And so it was kind of cool that they had that experience. They don't watch that kind of stuff. They don't really pay attention to that sort of thing often or at all. And they were the ones that got to experience it, and not me. So, I don't know. Kind of a nifty thing. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point. So, we're going to stop right here, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back next time on Let's Play some more Gran Turismo 3, the Ultimate Driving Simulator, we've got a few more races to go on the Alteza meeting, I think it was called. And it seems like we have a little bit of an advantage over the competition here, albeit not a giant one, but enough of one that we might be able to win some of these races comfortably if I can keep it clean. Because even though dirty is good, it's not when you're driving. you gotta have a clean sweep there. So, till then, my friends, this is your host, Lovely Cheese Pizza, saying thank you guys for watching, and I will definitely see you next time, because if I didn't, then I wouldn't be here. So you guys take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. See ya.